Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived two friends named Adisa and Deor. Although they were good friends, they differ in temperament. Adisa was the kind, loving, caring, and always quick to help type, while Deor was the inconsiderate, impolite, arrogant, and always quick to judge type. Adisa and Deor were both farmers who owned small farms next to each other. They would go to the farm to plant and harvest the little to no crops they had left and give to their wives to sell them in the village market, so they can at least put something on their table for the day. But due to the climate change, the two friends had a really hard time harvesting their produce, and as they had no other job options, they walked to their farm every day hoping for a good harvest. One day, while Adisa and Deor were on their way to their farms, as usual, they saw a really old woman by the roadside with a heavy looking load on the floor next to her. She looked like she was struggling to lift the load on her head. Adisa immediately offered to help, but his friend Deor pulled him back instantly. "Don't tell me you want to help that witch, Adisa," Deor said quietly. Adisa shook his head in disapproval. "Deor, she's not a witch." "Why do you think nobody wants to have anything to do with her, eh?" Deor said. Adisa sighed. "See, my friend, it's not my business if she's a witch, as long as I didn't do anything wrong to her. Why would she want to harm me?" "Eh? I'm warning you now." Deor tried to persuade his friend. But Adisa ignored him and walked up to the old woman. He immediately lifted her load onto his head and helped her until they reached the house. There, Adisa dropped the load and was about to leave, but the woman stopped him and offered him a seat. Deor refused, stating that he had to get to his farm to harvest what little crops he could grow. The old woman insisted, and Adisa had no choice but to stay. The old woman was elated, and she kept thanking Adisa. "My son, thank you so much, eh? Your kindness is rare. Thank you." She paused and then continued as watched Adisa closely. "Because you've been so kind to me, I want to help you." Adisa's chest started to pound really fast in fear. "Do not fear. I won't harm you. I just want to help you because you helped me." Adisa nodded slowly and tried to calm himself. "What are your heart desires?" the old woman asked while looking into her dirty bag. Adisa braved himself and answered, "I just want to be able to provide for my family and give them a better life." The old woman smiled slowly, brought out a very small gourd, and passed it into Adisa's shaky hands. "If that's really what you want, put this gourd under your pillow at night. When you want to sleep, you will be in a trance." The old woman explained to Adisa that while in that trance, he would see 4 clay pots of different colors and he will only have the chance of choosing one. The pot his heart desire are is the pot he should choose. She also warned Adisa not to give anybody else the gourd, or else it would have really bad repercussions. "I won't tell you the pot to choose, but I'll tell you this: all that glitters isn't gold." Adisa stared at the gourd for a long period of time, unsure how to react. After a while, he got himself together and thanked the old woman and left. When he left the old woman's house, Adisa didn't have the zeal to go back to his farm, so he just went straight home for the day. The next day, Deor Adisa's friend came to visit Adisa in his house, as he didn't see Adisa in the farm yesterday after he helped that old lady. Adisa, Deor called out as he sat down next to his friend, Adisa. What happened yesterday? I didn't see you at the farm. Adisa, who has been in deep thought since the old woman gave him the gourd, suddenly opened up to his friend Deor. Deor exclaimed loudly, "You see why I warned you about this woman? So you collected that gourd rubbish. She has used your destiny already, Adisa." Adisa laughed out loud and assured his friend that everything was fine. Few weeks later, Adisa had completely forgotten about the gourd and was still living his normal farming life. But as the days goes by, life was slowly becoming harder and harder for Adisa. He couldn't even harvest any of his crops for his wife to sell, and he and his family were starting to find it hard to feed on a daily basis. Adisa was slowly becoming depressed, and that was when he suddenly remembered the gourd the old woman gave him. As he had no other choice, Adisa decided to try his luck with the gourd. That night, as Adisa went to bed, he kept the gourd under his pillow and slept off. And as the old woman had said, Adisa went into a trance. He saw himself in a white room with 4 clay pots right in front of him. 1 gold pot, 1 brown pot, 1 black pot, and 1 white pot. Amongst the other pots, the glow pot glistened beautifully. It was almost blinding. While staring at the gold pot, Adisa remembered the old woman's words, "All that glitters isn't gold." Adisa immediately withdrew his eyes from the pot and stared at the remaining 3 pots. He thought for a while and made up his mind to take the brown clay pot. And immediately Adisa chose the brown clay pot. He jolted awake. He looked around and found the clay pot next to him on the bed. Adisa instantly took the pot in his arms and left his house in the early hours of the morning to find the old woman. He found the old woman in front of her house, sitting and staring into space. When the old woman saw Adisa, she smiled knowingly and said, "I've been waiting for you. What took you so long?" Adisa showed the woman the clay pot he chose, and she smiled brightly and knowingly again as she congratulated Adisa. "Thank your stars and your destiny. You chose the right pot. And the most powerful of them all, you chose the pot of unlimited riches." The old woman instructed Adisa on how to use it. She said he would chant some incantations and stick his hand into the pot, and whatever his heart desire is, what his hand will bring out of the pot. Adisa thanked the woman greatly and went back to his house that night. He did as the old woman instructed, and lo and behold, Adisa pulled out a handful of cowries. He was shocked as he poured the content into another bag. He examined the cowries to make sure they were real. Again, Adisa stuck his hand into the pot and brought out more cowries. He did it again and again and again, and he kept bringing out more and more cowries. Still shaking, Adisa called his family and told them everything. They all agreed to keep it a secret. The next few months were really pleasant and untroubled for Adisa. With his intelligence, he managed to acquire 3 big farms and land, and he started a boat renting business. His wife too had a big and popular store in the marketplace. In all of this, Adisa didn't forget his friend Deor. He gave Deor some money to start up his business too. But Deor, being the wasteful spender that he is, squandered all the money and asked for more from Adisa. Each time Deor comes back to ask Adisa for money again, Adisa would give him again and again, until Debo suddenly didn't want to be given fishes anymore. He wants to be taught how to fish. One morning, Debo visited his friend Adisa in his house, and the first thing he said to Adisa was, "Give a man a fish, and you will feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, and you feed him for a long time." Adisa knew what Debo meant, and he remembered the old woman told him not to let the gourd fall into someone else's hands, or else it would have a very bad repercussions. With that in mind, Adisa tried his best to persuade his friend and gave him some more money. Debo collected the money, but he wasn't satisfied. Some days passed, and Adisa decided to treat villagers to a big feast as he has acquired a new boat. Everyone was up and about in Adisa's house, going in and out, congratulating his family. Debo came to visit his friend too, but with bad intentions. So while everyone was congratulating the family, he snuck into Adisa's room through the back door. And because Adisa had told him what the old lady said he should do with the gourd, Debo knew where to find the gourd straight away. He lifted Adisa's pillow and found the gourd there. He immediately picked it up and left for his own house without saying a word to anybody, not even to his friend Adisa. When Debo got home, he locked himself up in his room and kept the gourd under his pillow. He laid down on his bed and forced himself to sleep. He had the same dream as Adisa. And in that dream, he saw 3 clay pots, a golden clay pot glistening brightly, a black clay pot, and a white clay pot. Debo smiled brightly and snatched the gold clay pot into his arms. Immediately, he took the gold pot. He jolted awake, just like Adisa. He woke up and saw the gold clay pot next to him on his bed. Debo laughed menacingly and pulled the clay pot closer to himself, as the old woman didn't instruct Debo on what to do. Debo, without chanting any incantations, dipped his hand into the golden pot, and almost immediately he felt a very sharp pain. He retracted his hand from the pot in pain as he saw 2 bite marks, what looks like a snake bite on his palm. He kicked the pot to a corner in fear. As he pulled back in fear, different snakes and reptiles began to ooze out from the gold pot. Debo tried to struggle, but he felt his body going weak and unable to move. He couldn't even scream as he watched the reptiles move towards him slowly. Few days passed and Debo's family became really worried as Debo had been locked up in his room all day. They had knocked on his door all day, but he hasn't answered. That was when his wife came out to tell the old villagers. With the help of some of the villagers, Debo's wife was able to break down Debo's room door, and that was when they found Debo's decaying body on the cold ground. Everyone exclaimed as they watched on. It looked like Debo was engaging in mourning ritual, and it had backfired against him. Some villagers felt pity for Debo's wife, as they thought such a fine woman married to a discontented man, while some mocked her for settling for less. When the news reached Adisa's ears, he was utterly devastated and disappointed. If only Debo was patient and contented, he stole the gourd and used it without proper instructions and suffered the consequences. The pot Adisa chose continued to produce money for years to come, and Adisa and his family lived a wonderful life. What moral have you learnt from this story? And don't forget to comment your favorite part of the story. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more interesting stories. Thanks for watching.